Hi, Jesslyn.
Hi, Lynn. How are
Good
you?
morning. I'm good, good. Been busy traveling and also doing a few different things these few months. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Been
Yeah.
busy too. I think we both took a step behind from our busyness, to do things, and we discovered much more, I think, from taking the step behind, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you want to tell everyone who's watching how we're going to go about the next few podcasts.
Yeah. So Jesslyn and I were inspired to do something new and different from the general questions of life. So we are going to dive into soul contract numbers in the coming podcast. Initially with a series of themes where we'll talk about power, emotions, or love, or abundance, um, communications, and things like that, and how they show up in different numbers in your chart. And so, if you have these numbers, maybe you can look out and see how it activates in your life. And then perhaps in that process, we can also add in some suggestions from our own experience journeying ourselves or
Yeah.
journeying with our clients, like how we can move through these numbers so that you can step into the gifts instead of living on the karmic side of it.
Yeah.
And yes, so today we'll start off this series with the power theme, which is something pretty big in Southeast Asia, um, especially from my observation, the Chinese community, the Vietnamese communities where I'm from, and there's also a lot in the Malay community in many ways. I'm not sure about the Indian communities. What do you think about that, Jesslyn? Is that a big thing, the power
I
thing?
think it is generally in the Asian community itself.
Mm,
Yes, of course, it is elsewhere as well. Of course, it's in the northern region, the southern, all over the place, even the Europe. But I think because of a lot of ancestral imprints,
mm,
right, and experiences, and because we were countries that were colonized, right?
mm,
So there is a lot of these imprints that were left behind, whether we consciously or subconsciously really realize. I would think that way, yeah.
mm.
So I think we're going to look at a few of the frequencies that play out with power itself.
Before that, I just wanted to highlight that when it comes to power, which is what we are talking about today, it's not just about coming into the position of leadership or politicians that have a lot of influence and power over other people. Power can be something very small, like how do you make decisions in your life
Yeah,
on a day-to-day basis? Like, do you make a decision that is truly yours? Or do you make decisions based on what your parents want you to, and or to keep the peace, or to look good on paper in some way? Does it really come from what you truly want? And of course, it's also about how do we use our presence and our authority in family, in community, depending on where we stand in the so-called hierarchy of life. How do we approach other people's free will choice and our own as well in the whole relational context?
yeah, yeah,
So it can be big, it can be small, but everything surrounding life and relationships would involve decision making and would involve power in some way. And from our observations with clients, I think many of us have certain struggle
yeah.
because of different root cause that we would also be discussing later. And towards the end of it, we'll be discussing a bit on how we can move through these power issues in our lives.
One of the big things that perhaps a lot of us, do experience with the nines is it's not just about, losing the power because of expectation, But sometimes also they can lose their power. Some of us, especially if there is a lot of nines in their chart or a lot of certain other frequencies in the chart, it can show up even as losing your own thoughts, not being able to bring your thoughts into surface, which is losing your own power within. So that is very much also related with your own thinking, your self-worth, how you feel and stuff like that. So when we are speaking about power, power need not just be lost externally to other people, but it can be even be lost within ourselves, with the way we have experienced life as well, right? So I guess there are many ways to look at it. So maybe we will look at some of the frequencies and see how it speaks about each of it.
Yeah. So the power numbers in soul contract are generally the nines, the ones, the fives that are very prominently related to power. But there are also other frequencies like 6, 21, and 18, for example.
Yeah, 18 years.
22, that can also be very much related to how we make decisions and how we use our power in life.
Yeah.
And there are a few different ways that people misuse their power, and many of us actually do it without knowing.
Knowingly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how do you see power being misused in clients or in yourself or in life in general, Jessie?
I think what I've seen so far, like with clients, is because I don't have nines, right? But I have a lot of clients who have nines. I have seen that it either can be misuse of power because in the sense that they know that they're quite powerful. They are in positions that are powerful. So it could be not necessarily in hierarchical position. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, right? And they without them even realizing, they are actually misusing their power in a sense of dictating what and how someone should be like, right? It's not necessarily that you need to be in a position in order to kind of put your power out there. It could even be in a home. It could be between siblings. It could be between spouse even sometimes.
Yes, indeed.
Right? Yeah. So so that's how I've seen them kind of use it without realizing, honestly. But when we actually speak about it, then they go like, oh yeah, sometimes I can be dominating. Okay? But the dominance turns into dictation sometimes, dictating
Yes.
how things should be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's very common, especially in a patriarchal society like Asia.
Yeah.
There are a lot of men tend to use that power in that way, and those are the cases that I generally see have 10 ones or 1 1 or 19 1 in their chart a lot. So it's the masculine abuse of power in
Yeah.
some ways. But I also see the other side of misuse of power, which I see in a lot of females. That is, they don't use their power.
Yes,
So
disempowerment.
when you
Yes.
don't use your power and you fall into either you fall into victim mode or being abused, you are also misusing your power. You are in some ways, this can sound a bit complicated, but you're also disempowering yourself,
Yeah.
and you are also disempowering the other person in that
Yep.
sense. Because you either you just leave all the decisions to someone else and leave it to someone else to dictate your life. Um, Sometimes it's because the parents, for example, have a very good intention of being overprotective, but in that process, they may disempower the child and not give
Yeah.
the child the opportunity to stand on their own feet and trusting their intuition to
Yep.
make decisions and take responsibility for themselves. So that's also one way of doing it. And another way is it's not because you have good intentions, it's just because you kind of, as a parent or as so-called boss, you just think that the other person is not capable enough.
Yeah. I've also seen the nines always having an intention of them thinking that that is the best decision, right?
Yep.
So it's either they are disempowering or
Mm.
they can sometimes look like they are kind of bullying a person, right? So it is both ways. It's either we are taking away someone's power with the power team, or we are actually giving away our power,
Yep.
and not stepping into our power would be another one. Because
Yeah.
not being able to make the decisions, not being able to voice what we want, not being able
Yeah.
to come out to say that, perhaps this is how I would like to see it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And in many cases that I've seen in clients with a lot of nines, for example, that is they also don't want to rock the boat, or they don't want to create tension. They just want
Yep.
to keep peace.
Peace,
So
yes.
they give their power away to someone else, whether to the spouse, because I don't want to create conflict in the family. Because nine, for example, is very humanitarian, very warm, very
Yeah.
loving. So they may want to keep peace instead of, stepping into their
Exactly.
power. And
Yes,
that's where
yes,
they give
yes.
that power away.
Yeah.
And this is very, very common in a lot of females who have nines in their goals or soul destiny. Yeah, or even karmic position.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
tend to just be the doormat for people to step over. And sometimes they may not feel it so much. They may not feel like I'm being disempowered,
Mm-hmm.
because there may be some gaslighting going on that
Mm-hmm.
they don't even know that they are being abused in some
Yeah.
ways,
Yeah.
or being bullied in some
In
ways.
some
So
ways, yes,
yes.
yes. And sometimes it could also be some of the frequencies with the power, they're all about truth. So now when they're not able to speak their truth, they can also feel that their power is taken away or disempowered.
Yep.
Huh?
That's got to do with the fives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
not able to speak their truth. They're not able to, or they could be in situations where they just kind of have to swallow the truth, you know, and even that can be very difficult for them, because that is where they are supposed to actually learn how to be in their truth,
Yep.
right?
A lot of Asians that I've seen, I think in the Vietnamese community, there are a lot of these cases where we have five five in karmic aspect,
Mm.
and there's a lot of persecution imprints around speaking up.
Ah,
So when I want to express my will, when I want to express my belief, my
right.
feelings, or whatever it is, my truth, I get punished as a
Yes,
child growing up.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
it's always like, keep quiet, sit at the corner
Yeah,
and
yeah,
don't
yeah,
disturb the
yeah.
adults and stuff like that. And that
Yes. Yeah,
unknowingly creates the imprints for the
yeah,
child. And
yeah,
when
yeah,
they grow
that's
up,
true.
they lose their voice, they lose their uh, power, in the sense of power of expression, power of stepping into what they believe in. So yeah.
Absolutely right. It can be a very big challenge, actually. And I have seen people who have this in their nine in the karmic position and the five in the talent, and I can see the battle that they are going through,
Mm,
because the nine, you are feeling so disempowered, you're not able to move forward, you are so kind of within yourself. And here you have the five, which is all about truth, and there is a battle going with it. Like, am I supposed to say this or am I not supposed to? And I've also noticed many have also kind of had not only suppression, but anxiety, because they're in situations where they are not able to speak up at all,
mm,
so that
mm.
can even cause other issues as well, maybe anxiety, maybe lack of confidence, maybe even depression, because there is so much going on, you know I mean, imagine if you get a child and you've got a nine in the karmic and five as the truth. Okay, and your goal is supposed to be 10-1. Boy, that is a big one to carry, right? So
Yeah.
but I guess the very important part of it is to recognize and to understand, because I've seen like the charts like that, right? When I see nine in the karmic and five in the talent, when they actually realize that, oh yeah, now I understand what I'm going through. I've always felt disempowered and felt the need to speak the truth, but never knew why it made me feel so bad not speaking up, that gives them a clearer sense of what is happening as well.
But before we go into how to move through all these power issues, like what do you think are the root causes of this disempowerment or misuse of power in different ways?
I think the root cause, it can be many different things. One is definitely, like I mentioned earlier, because of the environment, the geographical environment we are in, right?
Yep.
It could be even the way some of us have been brought up, right? The circumstances. Or even if the home circumstances were not such, when they actually go to school, that could be a very big theme, because with the teachers and with the fellow students, there could be things like that coming up. There also could be unhealed trauma, unhealed parts of them, which they do not consciously really realize. Because I think when it comes to healing work, we do realize that a lot of it is not conscious. There are many unconscious parts of us that we have not really recognized.
Mm.
There could also be perception, our own perceptions. And these perceptions are from several things. It could be social media. It could be things that we read. Okay?
Mm.
So I think this the power part of it comes from various parts. And of course, we won't be able to pinpoint exactly which one until we understand a person's life experiences, right? And then we are able to relate around it. Because I've also
Mm.
seen some with these frequencies, right? Home is fine, school is fine, but they have given their power away from the perception that they have about themselves. And where those perceptions come from, they come from things like maybe social media, maybe the friends, maybe it is the social expectation. So it is quite a broad area, because it can come from various things.
Mm.
And when it comes to power, you feel like even the social media has taken our power away in some sense,
Mm.
right?
AI can take our power away as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a very big one. AI can take our power away. I think you and I have seen how we felt like, um, especially doing this work, and then there's this expectation of society or norm or technology where AI is supposed to help us with certain things, and we can see how even our power sometimes is kind of taken away from our truth,
Mm.
because we're not able to connect with who we are really and our own thoughts,
Mm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But all in all, I think we talk about like social conditioning, we talk about family and childhood trauma and stuff like that. But in essence, I just want to draw us back to soul contract aspect. It's just a soul contract. It's, to me, the root cause is still about balancing. The soul wants to learn the lesson around power. So if you are looking at your chart and the more numbers around power you have, the deeper the lesson is that
Of
you're going to
course.
learn in this lifetime. And it's really just about learning the different aspects of power, whether you are misusing your power in this way or the other, this end of the spectrum or the other end. And through that learning process is about opening up and learning integrity, because power and integrity come
Come
together.
hand in, yes.
Yeah, and it's about using your power with integrity and not compromising yourself or not compromising other people's free will choice in that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Whether you are imposing your ideology or decisions and all that on them.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also noticed that some people with 9s or 10 in their karmic aspect, especially or 5 in karmic aspect, either physical or spiritual, it can be pretty much a past life thing.
Yeah.
It can be a past life imprint of power misuse.
Yeah.
And in this lifetime, the soul really wants to correct that
To yeah,
and
yeah.
relearn the whole
To
thing.
break that
Yeah.
cycle.
So then, of course, we choose to be born in an Asian society where disempowerment is so common. And like Chinese, for example, Nicholas always says that the Chinese society is all about disempowerment. It's just a loop of the cultural aspect or the collective consciousness, because there's a lot of 10-1 in the chart and a lot of
Yep.
nines in the chart. So, and then the Vietnamese, so many of us have 5 in our karmic aspect. And it's all about suppression of speech and truth.
Yep.
And the clashing of truth in the way we live our life. And then 17.8, also severe disempowerment and slavery
Yeah.
issue. So there are all these things that, filial piety, and then you don't want to rock the boat, you want to keep the peace, and the whole
Yep.
cultural aspect comes into play. But it's all because the soul wants to come in here in this
Yes.
space
Yes.
and time to learn that lesson and to balance it. So when
Yep.
we look at it that way, then we don't keep blaming our parents or disempowering
Yeah. Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
or blaming social media or society for having certain expectations.
True.
Yeah, in that sense, and I thought it's important to bring that point up. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I think we don't have much time left for today. Let's just talk a little bit about how we can move through these power issues. What do you think, Jaslyn, like in terms of the solution to
Mm.
disempowerment or misuse of
I
power,
I guess
abuse of power?
this is something that I'm going to speak from my own personal experiences with myself and my clients, because I do experience some form of disempowerment as well, because I've got 17.8 in my chart, right? And it is kind of, although it is not really connected with disempowerment, there is a form of it in there as well. And I've seen a lot of my clients with nines as well. And I think one of the big ways is, number one, to recognize it, okay? To have the awareness around it. Because you see, when I did not recognize it and I did not have my awareness around it, I just felt like I was not good enough to speak. I was not
Mm,
good enough to say something. But once we understand that awareness, of course, we use the soul contract in these terms, but there's so many other ways to use this as well. And when we recognize that, then we are able to work through it. But working through it, there are many methods. You can do healing, you can do inner work, you can do shadow work, you can do, the list is endless. So there's a whole list around it. But I guess the most important thing is, first of all, have the awareness and to understand where is that coming from. And when we understand where is it coming from, we are able to use the different tools to help us work through it. And if we think that some of those disempowerment is things that are related with external factors, it could be a relationship that is causing it, or it could be an environment that is causing it, then
mm,
perhaps it's time to sit down and actually look at that, to
right.
look at whether it is serving us for our highest best or it's not serving us for our highest best, and whether do we still stick around with it or we don't stick around with it, or can any intervention be done to make things better.
Mm, yeah. Whereas people who abuse power tend to be very oblivious
Yeah, of course.
to abusing. But if we are very conscious, we can actually come across tools that help us recognize that we are misusing our power. For example, I have 10-1, I have 5 in my chart. And I also have 17.8. So I tend to also abuse my power when I was in a managerial position, for example, or even in my relationship with my husband. There also can be times where I impose my ideology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it comes back to, if we are conscious of the fact that it's not healthy or beneficial for both sides, then we can, like you said, we can use whatever tools that we have to transmute it.
Yeah.
But as far as the disempowerment thing is concerned, I think it's very important to be able to feel it and
Yeah.
express it, because many of us, we are so used to being bullied or being the doormat, that we don't know how to express that we feel being bullied, we feel being disempowered in different ways. And sometimes we numb ourselves out so much that we can't even feel the anger of being disempowered.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing about feeling your body, feeling your emotions, and expressing what's inside of you, I think is pretty important here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
start making like small little decisions in your daily life. Because recently, in the mental health festival, I did a mini reading for someone who also had severe disempowerment issue because
Mm.
all the decisions were made for her, and she's just such a nice lady,
Mm.
very soft, very gentle. And she lived her whole life not knowing that she was being disempowered.
Mm.
Um, and then she stopped making decisions for herself.
I
She
see.
stopped trusting her intuition, and that's such a waste of gifts
Yeah,
because all
true.
these numbers have huge gifts of power and of being catalytic behind them. And healing gift is also a big gift of all these power numbers. So when she stopped seeing herself being able to take responsibility for her own decisions in her own life, that's where she loses the gifts.
Mm.
And when we can slowly take back that power by claiming small baby steps,
Yeah.
trusting our intuition in small little ways, that would incrementally help us to open up the power within us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also seen, although there is this empowerment and there's power, right? And those who have gone through the process itself, the one thing that is very big, which I see within them, is empathy. They learn a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion along the way, right? So, like you mentioned earlier, whatever it is to be there for a reason. And when we understand the reason, we are able to use that as well. Because when we are able to use our power with empathy and with compassion, then
Mm.
it becomes very empowering instead of disempowering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like behind 9 or 10 ones or fives are intuition, connection to spirit, integrity,
Yeah.
truth, humanitarian qualities, and uh, the gift of transforming others.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I've seen a lot of nines who've been through, like, those who are older, and they
mm,
did go through that disempowering period in their life, and they recognize that, and they've
yeah,
learned to work through that, right? I've noticed many
mm,
of them are very empowering. They are able to
yeah,
help others achieve their goals or achieve whatever it is in a very empowering way instead of disempowering them. So that is a very beautiful gift that
yeah,
comes out of this as well. Yeah.
mm,
So
yeah,
maybe we'll just go through a few charts just to give the audience an idea.
yeah. Sure, you
Yeah, sure.
can
Okay, let me
probably
just
just show how these numbers look like in a
yeah,
chart.
yeah. Okay. So we have the first one there, or this sits right at the life purpose or soul destiny. So it can be a very big theme, especially when it sits right in the center, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So how do you think this person could be relating with life? I mean, just looking at the frequencies lane.
This one, a lot of speech suppression.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you've got
but I
here,
mean, there are also other numbers and stuff. And there's six. Six also a lot to do with free will.
right?
So in a physical challenge, it may
Let me
not be
just
very easy for the
circle a
person.
bit. Where are we
Yeah.
focusing on?
Actually, the six also has a lot to do with
Yeah,
will and power.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me show another one so that they just have an idea of what we're talking about, right? Okay, so we have another one here. Again, there are nine, there are fives.
Mm,
Okay. Of course, the seven, then we will see. I would say this as whenever I see a seven, I see the fives and the nines, right? It's like the after effect that you experience.
mm,
That's what you experience there. You know? And oh, this is very interesting because you see the life purpose here is 11.2, which is about building your own structure of truth.
Mm,
And that very much comes from learning to be in your power.
right.
And then you're able to build that structure of truth. So that's quite interesting with this chart.
Yep.
How else do you see this?
Well, of course, the very prominent aspect of this chart has to do with emotional resiliency and things like that. So I would imagine that this person, in the process of absorbing a lot of dysfunctional issues in the family, may have dimmed out their lights and their wit in different ways because there's a lot of peacekeeping tendency there.
Yeah.
So they sacrifice their own truth and their own intuition in order to tiptoe around the certain dysfunctions in the family and keep the peace in the family. And
Yeah,
because there's a
that's
lot
true.
of love in the person's chart,
Yeah.
so it's where they kind of need the love and they need to be loved, that
Yeah.
they self-sacrifice a lot.
Yeah. So like what we mentioned earlier, all these experiences would give us some kind of leverage, right? So in this chart, I think the twos are quite prominent there when you mention resilience. So they're able to have that as a strength eventually,
Yeah.
right? Okay, let's look at
Right.
another one. Hey, so here we have the 5. And of course, the 6, there is a part of the 6 there. Okay. And again, this again is building your own structure. True, and the 10-1, the 1 is here. Okay.
Yep. 10
Does
also
that,
can be disempowerment.
yeah.
It's both the 10 and the 1,
So this
the
is about
masculine and the
balance.
feminine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
And there's also the 21. 21 is very
oh yeah,
rebellious.
yes. Yes,
But
especially with the 3. Okay. So there is a lot of not being able to express as well. Yeah. And
yeah.
sometimes I would also think that the 8s have a little bit of that as well. Because they're not able, they hold on to things. When you actually, there are times I've seen some of the 8s when they hold on to things, they are not allowing, they're giving away their power to the situation,
That
or
one
to
is
a
more of
person.
an emotional attachment issue.
Yeah.
The way I see it.
Yeah, they can lose their sense of direction, and give away their power, because I know of some aides who actually literally hold on to things and don't let go, and kind of given their power away in that sense. So a very little residue of power there. But of course, the main ones that we look at would be the 9s and the 5s, the 10-1s, the 1s especially, right? So
Yeah.
we just wanted to just project a chart just to show everyone where possibly this can be, right?
Yep. It's also just to show that the power issue can express in different ways, and it depends on where the numbers sit in your chart.
Yeah.
Does it sit in karmic, talent, goal, or soul destiny? That it may have different degrees of expression, and also combining with other numbers that it would express differently in your life. But yeah, even I myself, for example, with my 10-1 in soul destiny, the learning to come into the balance between feminine and
Balance, yeah.
masculine and stop bulldozing with my masculine power or my will. Because 1 is all about willpower, the
Yeah.
father's will. Whereas the 9 is softer. The 9 is a bit warmer, a bit gentler,
Yeah.
but it's like very, very huge, strong river water that flows, that can be destructive as well.
They're very
So,
deep, I guess, very deep.
yeah. So all these different expressions can be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, because
And
I think it's also how the other frequencies are in the chart and how they play out. Because they say if like what we saw just now, if there's 11-2 sitting right at the center at a soul destiny and you've got nines and fives around, then that would definitely be a lesson or something to work towards to in order to build your own structure to be able to say who you are and what you are and things like that.
Yep.
So when we look at the chart, we look at the chart as a whole package and not just a one-off. This is what it means and that is what it means. That is what another thing which I wanted to mention in one of the podcasts as well. A lot of people who have actually got the chart from us, I guess, have tried to also look at these charts in terms of AI, putting it up on ChatGPT, and they presume that what they have from there, it's the right thing. But I have tried this on my own with ChatGPT just to have a feel to understand, right? And so far, I've not seen a single truth about it. And when you allow that to happen, in a way, what we're doing is we're giving our power away to AI to
Yeah.
allow
But
us.
not just that, it's very inaccurate.
Yeah, very, very
The
inaccurate.
interpretation is very inaccurate.
Yeah, and this is totally misleading, because that is where this is a very unique modality because it doesn't speak about the frequencies as a standalone. The frequencies are very connected with each other. That's how we see the story itself. And that is one of the ways where we actually can give our power away to external. Yeah.
Well, you can choose to not give power away to a soul contract reader like us and into yourself what lessons you have in your life by observing yourself, listening to your inner guidance. And it's perfect, when you look out to a guru or master or AI, to a certain degree, also check with yourself whether you're giving your power away or not.
Yes,
Because
yes.
I also come across people who keep looking for answers externally, whether you ask your teacher or you ask a system, you go from this system to another system, you try and look for the best answer. Actually, the best answer is within you, especially if you have a lot of nines within your chart.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
look at it from multiple angles and don't see us as gospel, don't see soul contract as gospel, because at the end of the day it's also about observing your life and see what's true for you, what works for you, and what's your next best step.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
everyone is different and unique in their own journey, and we can only give you certain suggestions and guidelines based on our own experience and understanding. And at the end of the day, truth is very simple. There is just this universal law of free will. And when it comes to power, it's all about honoring our free will choice and honoring other people's free will choice in the process and make the best decision every moment based on what your intuition is telling you is right and not based on social expectations or conditioning or fear
Exactly.
or
True.
anger or hatred and stuff like that. And that's the end goal of every system or every teaching.
Yeah.
So that's the parting gift for today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you rounded up whatever I wanted to say already. Yeah. Yeah. Especially I love the part where you said about not giving your power away to others because I've noticed that a lot with my clients. Moving
Right.
from one to one to one. There are many tools
Yeah.
out there. Look at things that you can actually do on your own as well. There are many, many things. There are always people to guide, but do not give your power away by making that particular person or modality or whatever is it as something very dependable. That's important.
Yep. And that wraps up our podcast today. I hope
Yep.
that it has been helpful to a certain extent. And if you have your chart, look at your chart and see whether this theme is prominent. If you don't have your chart, you can reach out to us and see whether you can get some mini reading pointers and stuff like that. Yeah, and thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.